Hi, Josh. Man, I am so incredibly happy to be doing this. I'm really excited because um, it's a lot, uh, it's a lot, it's a way better connection, I think, making these videos. So thank you for inspiring me to make this video to talk to you. That way you can get a kind of better idea of who I am and how a better grip on my personality, I guess, rather than just messages. So, um, yeah, making this video today in response to the video you just sent me. Of course, I'm making this video today, but I mean January 14th of 2020. So, uh, yeah, I kind of want to touch on, uh, or I wanted to talk about why I wanted to be your friend in the first place. And then I'll kind of touch on drinking a little bit, how it was for me, and uh, things like that, because that's kind of like your main goal right now, which is uh, such a great main goal. So, um, why I wanted to be your friend uh, was I got to kind of talk about uh, one of the big things about one of the things that kind of ruled over my life for so long, and that was like having uh, severe anxiety toward a lot of things. So I think everybody does have anxiety to just at different varying levels, and some may have more anxieties towards certain things than others. So it's not necessarily to say that, oh, I have anxiety, you have anxiety. Well, we both do. Just what do we have anxiety against, or anxiety toward, and how much is it really affecting us? Like, you can have people who are like, yeah, I get a little anxious when I go up on stage, and then you got people who are like shaking and want to throw up and like are like too terrified to do anything. So pretty much you kind of get it. I'm sure at this point, it's just one of those things as when you take on your anxieties, like let's say you have stage fright, you go up on stage. If you have to keep going up on stage and keep doing it, you eventually get used to it and realize that it's not a threat. So uh, you kind of get comfortable there. Anxiety is really important for us as a survival tool to make sure that we don't do anything crazy or anything that's going to put us in danger, to kind of keep us safe. But when you have too many of them, you kind of end up kind of just too sheltered, I guess. So I always kind of viewed people who weren't incredibly shy, or were able to talk to a lot of people, or knew a lot of people, or do things that I was afraid of. That's the biggest thing. I always thought people who could do things that I couldn't do were just better than I was, were more courageous than I was, and things like that. But it's not courage that was kind of driving them. Courage is doing something that you're afraid of. They just weren't afraid of it anymore. And it could have been something at like a young age or something like that. I don't know if for you it could have been like you had grown up in that area in Hawaii. I moved around a lot, so I never got to keep close touch with friends. You might have already known a bunch of people your whole life, or you might, could have been playing sports and things like that, that had you around people a little more often, that maybe you didn't have as much social anxiety as I did. And I'm not saying that I know you well and what anxieties you do and you don't have, because I still think it's very clear that we all still do have anxieties towards certain things, and it always changes. But at the time that I met you on the bus was when you had your pet rock Chuck, and you're just so hilarious. You're so loud on the bus, and I was like, this dude's not afraid of anything. He's so cool, he's so hilarious. Um, that I kind of latched on to that. But the real reason, that's like the underlying reason why I liked you so much, but the real reason why I just saw you and wanted to be your friend was I was watching skateboarding videos, and there's this guy, his name was Josh Peck, and he was like from the Netherlands or something, and he was a skateboarder, and he looked exactly like you and had the exact same hair. I think I might have told you this before already, but I thought he was so cool, and I think it was middle school when we met, and uh, I you were in high school maybe. Man, I'm not 100% sure, but I saw you on the bus, and I was like, wow, this guy looks exactly like that really cool skateboarder I know. I'm like, man, I really want to be his friend. And then I saw the way you were acting, and I was like, man, this guy's so cool. He's not afraid of anything. And that's where I kind of really wanted to do my best to try to be around you as much as possible. I always thought that people who knew a lot more than I did were just better people than I was, and had really bad self-esteem. And I wanted to be around people who I thought had characteristics that I wanted to be like, or things that I wanted to learn how to deal with. So um, that's kind of the idea I had of you when I first met you, and that's why I wanted to be your friend, and why I liked being around you so much. I think when we were at that young ages, you were so incredibly ambitious. You welcomed challenges, uh, and you always did your best to kind of deal with them. Nothing kind of completely held you back unless like it was like illegal, like you couldn't drive, uh, or like you couldn't get a job yet, or it was just something like there was just no way like you had the capacity or money or something to do. Everything that you had in your power that I saw, uh, everything that you had in your power that you could do, I felt like you kind of made that jump, whether it was uh, learning how to play guitar like Ingve. That was a big step, I think, and it totally raised the bar and really changed who you were and who I was and the people who knew you. You pushed the boundaries, and it let me know kind of what's capable. I'm like, oh, if this guy can do it, maybe I can do it, kind of thing. And I always wanted to try to match you on that level. So you weren't afraid to push your limits, and I think even in your relationships too, uh, all the things that kind of made you scared or held back from doing something with people, you still, if you really wanted it, you kind of took that leap and made it real. Um, so that was something really admirable as well. You were so full of heart, or you still are so full of heart. I just mean at the time, in comparison to me, you were so much more yourself, or what felt like you were yourself, than I was myself. I was always trying to imitate people uh, that I had no clue exactly what I was doing. So that's why I wanted to be your friend. That's one of those are a few of the things why I liked being around you so much. When we met, and yeah, I'll kind of end it there. I might talk a bit more about some other stuff some other time, but in like a small nutshell, that's why I wanted to be your friend. So at this point, I'm just gonna touch on drinking real quick. I've only been sober for about a year now, and it doesn't mean that I haven't drinking at all during that year, but I am an alcoholic and I love drinking. So the times that I did drink, I only drank maybe one or two beers, enjoyed it for like half an hour or an hour, and then I'd probably be sober after like 2 or 3 hours again. So I was never drinking to get drunk. I never got like a six pack. I think I've only drinking 4 times in the past year, and I never drank because I was sad. It was always I was feeling okay. Everything was going good in my life. I was like, oh, I might pick up a beer or two, and I enjoy it again for like 30 minutes or an hour. But then I usually kind of feel like shit afterwards. So I normally won't drink again for like 6 months or something like that. So everybody at their own pace, for whatever reasons they want to. I'm so happy that you kind of acknowledge that it has less value to you now. For me though, it was really that I had so many issues that I didn't know how to deal with, and when I would drink, they all just kind of went away because you stopped caring. And then if something could just get rid of all my problems like that, then this was the answer, and what kind of led me to being an alcoholic. But what really made me want to quit was I hit rock bottom. Well, I was probably rock bottom for about 4 or 5 years, but I hit like I was at rock bottom, but then something really screwed me up to where like I couldn't use my arm anymore. I couldn't grab anything and things like that, and I was like drunk, and it was just so bad. It was kind of one of those things where like it was the best worst thing that ever happened to me, not being able to use my arm. Uh, so I kind of looked at my life in a holistic way to where it's not just one thing that's causing you all your problems, it's everything in your life. So drinking was one of those things that had to go, and if I ever wanted to use my arm again. So I had to learn the hard way, and that's kind of what got me toward, stop drinking and starting to eat better. But in order to quit drinking, I had to ask myself the really, really hard question, and that was not just asking myself the question, but answering it honestly and digging deeper and still being honest with myself and actually answering that question. And that was, why do I like to drink? And I was like, well, because I love it, obviously. Well, why? Why do you love it? Well, because I like to, because it gets rid of this and that for me. It makes these things better. I'm not scared anymore. I feel fearless. Things like that. But like, well, why else? Why else do you like drinking? Well, because it does this and that and that and that. And the more I started digging into it and starting to be a little bit more honest and stopped avoiding the honest answers, man, the answers just got really sad. And it just started getting sadder and sadder, and I realized how many issues I've been covering up by drinking, and how much things I was trying to make up for by drinking. So at that point, when it was very clear to me that why I like drinking so much, and they were like all negative reasons, it was easier not to go into the liquor store. And I live like 60-second walk from a liquor store right now that I used to go to all the time. So it made it easier to stop thinking about it and to focus on other things. So even though you might be a little overwhelmed by how much stuff you're trying to do right now, not having a drink so far is so incredible. So I'm so excited for you. I like 10,000% believe in you, and even if you fall short sometimes or lose it, that you're gonna be able to pick up the next time even better, even stronger, and it's just gonna build you up even more. So I'll talk to you again soon. I'm not sure what I'll talk about, but man, just keep going. It's amazing. Like, could you imagine if we were teenagers again, and we had all the resources we had now, but without our addictions and all our shortcomings, all the things that are fucked up in our life right now, but we had the resources we had when we were teenagers, what we do with it, man, that'd be so cool. I think that's a really cool thought. We lose a lot of ourselves, I think, when we turn 18, so when we try all this other stuff that people think are so cool. So keep doing it, man. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.